Roll runaway ruins reliable prints, resin remains trapped, and the prints painfully planted, and a Prusa XL plows print pitching toolhead and plastic-powered tantrum. All this and more, PrintFix Friday, episode 213. Let's get into it. Starting off with a messed up core 1, where you can see looks like basically a brand new spool, but the coils are falling off the printer. I'm glad we're not the only one that's actually experienced this as well. It's something that we've had happen to our machine, and we think we've kind of identified what the issue is. It all has to do with where the coils are on the reel, and then where the inlet is on your machine as well. So the core 1 has an entire filament holder built right into the side of it. In fact, with a 1 kilo roll, it doesn't stick out anything from the edge, which is really nice. Makes it so you're not taking up extra room for a spool holder on the outside of the machine, allowing you to get machines just a little bit closer to each other for a print farm application or something like that. But the problem is, from time to time, they'll spit coils like this. And what we found the major issue is in regards to where those coils are on the reel. There's not a great way to prevent this, and this happens with basically any machine, but it has to be pulling the filament close to the edge of the roll. With the Prusa Core 1, it pulls it towards the outside edge rather than the inside edge, and we believe that is what causes this issue. The way that we've solved it here internally is when you put the spool in, just have a little back pressure on it manually until the machine grabs the reel and you're good to go. As soon as the machine grabs the reel, as long as that reel is kind of tight backwards, it should never have an issue again, at least from our experience. But rolls that are really, really close to that top edge are going to have this more common than reels that don't. So something like a larger roll or something with a wider band on it is not going to have this issue. It is such an issue that people have actually already made mods that solve this basic issue, including one like this, where you have a spool guard that goes on the other side of the spool itself to keep this from occurring, and ones like this that effectively act as a bit of a weight and a bit of pressure on the spool to keep it from unwinding itself. Is this that big of a deal? No. If you take just a little bit of care when putting the machine together, getting filament fed into it, you'll have no issues whatsoever. It's one of those odd ones that we've seen pop up as spools start to get smaller and smaller and smaller so that manufacturers can spend less money to manufacture them, ship them, and everything like that. Less material, less weight, smaller box, cheaper shipping, cheaper product to the consumer, more profit in the pocket. You can put a ring on the spool that solves this exact same issue, but it doesn't really fix the problem. We're band-aiding the fact the problem actually happens.
Or keep searching for band-aid solutions and never deal with the problem.
Band-aid solutions?
Runt!
If you do have a Core 1 or any machine that is going through issues like this, just make sure you're adding reverse tension to the roll when it's feeding and when it starts the print. As soon as it starts printing, generally, they should be totally fine and you would not need anything else from it moving forward. Let me know if you guys have experienced this issue down in those comments. And hey, while you're down there, my name's Grant, this is 3D Musketeers, this is PrintFix Friday, where we help you get your printers back to printing with purpose. Don't forget to leave a like and get subscribed while you're at it. Are these little frustrations something that you see pop up more often than you would like? If so, we'd like to know, because these little frustrations could easily be solved with printed parts or looking at some custom G-code in the beginning of a print or in the loading of a print or in the loading of filament to solve these issues. And hey, maybe it's worth going down that path to solve those problems. Moving on from an upset Prusa, we've got a Bambu A1 Mini where the hot end is completely toast. Let's take a look at this thing here. We can see the 3 screws are pulled out. Now, we don't know if this is what the user did or if the machine did this itself. We can see there is a wire missing, which likely means your heater and your thermistor are shot and it is time to replace them. Something of note, most of the time when we see these A1 and A1 minis where they're not aligning things properly anymore, their first layers don't look very good, it is often because of these 3 screws. Keep an eye on those if you have an A1 or an A1 mini, because you need to make sure that these screws stay tight. We can see there's a little bit of the blue Loctite on at least 2 of them, which will help obviously, but it's not a permanent fix. And to be clear, it shouldn't be, because you at some point might need to go through something like this. We can see the machine did at some point experience a blob of doom, although we're not certain if the blob of doom ripped the screws out and everything like that. Chances are, from my perspective, that the machine did not cause the screws to get ripped out, because honestly, they're too well placed on the build plate, quite frankly. And this was likely due to the user trying to remove the blob of doom and ended up breaking one of the wires. It is a common issue when you have blobs of doom that you're going to snap wires. It is why we always recommend to keep heaters, thermistors, hot ends, whatever it might be, electrical components that go directly into the extrusion process of your machine handy and in spares at all times. And we can see that Bambu makes their spare parts unreasonably affordable. And for 20 bucks to have the hot end heating assembly, which I think comes with the heater and thermistor, I'm honestly not certain. I couldn't find them separately, so I'm assuming they do. But for 20 bucks, it is absolutely not worth it to have to wait for this to come in while your machine sits there, not being able to do anything. Swap it out, move on, and take it as a learning lesson. When you're dealing with blobs of doom, the best thing you can do, assuming your hot end is still attached, heat it up, let it get nice and soft, and then slowly try to pull it off. And if you happen to be a bit of a plastic surgeon, which there should be a merch link, if there isn't, it's coming soon, for a plastic surgeon t-shirt, you can use some flush cutters to try to cut the bits off and make sure you don't cut the wires. Because I've never cut wires on a live stream before and had to solder them live. Nope, that's never happened to me. But I'd rather get the machine up and running as quickly as possible rather than having to wait for spare parts to come in. For a $20 bill, there's no reason that you shouldn't have it in stock. Moving on to an A1 betraying a user, because apparently we still have to talk about this stuff. Toasty. Don't we all just love when our printers start to arc and spark? I mean, it's not like we have burned boards in hand from an A1 with actual components straight up missing because they got nice and hot, and areas of the board where it's gotten very warm as well. It's not like we have this in hand, and it's not like it's from Norway, and thanks to the Norwegian individual that sent it over with some awesome sweets, greatly appreciated. Yeah, it's not like we're collecting burn boards to have them tested by a professional testing facility so that we can truly understand why these machines are having these issues, so we can help you all out as consumers and try to help you better understand your machines. But we're definitely doing all of those things. So if you do happen to have a machine that is, arcing and sparking and definitely not catching fire, according to the bootlickers out there, hit us up, because we would like to get the boards in. We will pay for all shipping costs associated with it to get it in, so that we can send a collection of these out to a facility, because one is just an anomaly. 40 plus, that starts to be a bit of a trend and something that we want to investigate. And the more of these that we can get in hand, the better idea that we will have, because we will have, well, boards from all over the world that can get tested, and we can determine if they're all experiencing identical failure modes. So if this has happened to you, let us know. And, oh yeah, like we spoke about last week, Centauri carbon cables are on that list as well. And we are following a bit of a story with the Artillery M1 Pro, where replacement beds are not grounded and you can actually feel the current going through the machine if you happen to touch the machine wrong. Maggie of Mako-Rama was the first to bring this to our attention, so if you for some reason have one of these machines and have noticed that you get a bit of a tingle when you shouldn't, let us know. We'd like to determine what could possibly go wrong here. So far, we have 2 reports. They're both kind of within the EU. Just so you guys know, we're not going after a single or specific brands. We're just trying to protect y'all, because we all know we do dumb stuff all the time. Be safe. We got Resin trapped inside of a print here, saying, "Hey gang, I done goofed and forgot to add drain holes on my last print. Now I have 2 prints full of liquid resin stuck to the build plate. Any ideas on how they can be taken off without chucking resin everywhere?" Well, this is good because they clearly know that resin is toxic, and we want to be careful with it because resin is toxic, and that's dangerous. The best thing to do, which we can see here, is top commenter saying to drill a small hole in it and pry off a corner of the part on the plate and allow it to slightly drain out. The hole that you're drilling is to allow air to get into the part as the resin drains out from one of those corners. If you are using modern resin slicers, I'm looking at Lychee Slicer specifically because it has a lot of these features. It can determine this for you. There's also UV tools, which I wish we could make update videos every single time UV Tools has an update, but my God, our entire channel would just be UV Tools updates. It is the cheat code for resin 3D printing. We did a video on it a while back, but it still holds true to this day. Put your resin files into UV Tools before you run them on your resin printers so you don't end up with this. Now, thankfully, this user saw it. They recognize it's an issue and they're asking for help. There'll be many people out there that are not using translucent resin, that don't know there's liquid resin trapped in their parts, and they're gonna end up exploding in a random amount of time as the resin inside of it off-gasses and has the potential to explode. We have never had that issue here where we've had trapped resin inside of a part. However, we have been notified by UV Tools that there could be trapped resin, and we went ahead and added some holes so that it wouldn't happen. That's the nice thing about having programs out there that can help you. That's what they're there for. Use them. Last but not least, if I had to see it, you do too. Let's take a look at this XL.
What the
I don't think I could say it better. I don't think that video was cut at a more proper moment. This was uploaded to our Discord server, which you can join at the $10 tier and higher, by Anna, aka DevMiner, with a Prusa XL from their local makerspace that got a little angry. I want to go through this kind of like frame by frame with you guys so we can see what's going on. It's printing, and then as that occurs, the machine tries to move. It slams into the supports. We can actually see the supports moving. Like, look at this. You can literally see the supports kind of moving when the machine contacts it. And so what happened here is that the machine skips steps. You might say, but Grant, modern printers have skip step detection. Yeah, they do. The XL has it, but when you run the XL with Input Shaper, it turns off. Now, I don't know why this is a thing. It's part of the XL. I wish it didn't, because this would be something that it could, fix, but unfortunately it didn't. And because it has this issue, when the machine skips steps, it then slammed into the right side of the machine, which is also where it pushes the dock connectors. So in doing that, it hit the dock connectors, unlocking the tool head, and then the tool head fell. And so when that happened, the printer basically just got really upset, yeeted the tool head, and just said, "I threw it on the ground." So how exactly do you fix this? Obviously, we don't want the machine to contact supports, but the best way to solve this is to make sure that we don't have curled edges. If we look, there appears to be some area here where the support is actually starting to support an overhang. During this, you can get curled edges. If you are worried about this, make sure to turn on avoid curled edges in the slicer. It is an experimental thing, but in our experience, we found it actually works quite well. When you're using tree supports, and we see this with like every machine, we don't know why this occurs, but make sure to add a lot more Z-hop when you're using tree supports, organic supports, whatever you want to call them. For some reason, they have a tendency to stick up a little bit higher, and if you don't have enough Z-hop, your tool head will crash into it. Now, on some machines, this is no big deal. They recognize the crash, they rehome themselves, and they go back to printing. It is what it is. On other machines, like the XL, it doesn't know what's going on, and it just slams itself into the sidewall, unlocking the tool. If we look, this is what a locked-in tool looks like. Watch toward the end here. We can see it's locked. Boom. It's no longer locked. The tool head falls off, and the machine also throws the red lights telling you, hey, something ain't right. Outside of avoiding curled perimeters, I'm not really certain how to solve this other than saying 3mm of Z-hop for everybody, because that's what is causing this. The machine is ramming into something, whether it's supports, whether it's a curled perimeter, it's ramming into something, and we want to stop that from happening. Do you think it's Z-hop? Do you think it's curled perimeter? Do you think it's something else? I know for sure that it ran into something and it doesn't like it. I also know that the XL doesn't really have stellar cooling compared to its counterparts, the Core 1, the Mark 4S, and heck, even the Mark 4. It has about as much static pressure as a mouse fart, and while, yes, mouse farts do propel satellites through space, seriously, take a look at that. The amount of thrust that satellites have when they're in space is equivalent to a mouse fart. And while there are mods out there like IPIND3D or In-Phase Industries Mastodon mod, those often require a little bit of cutting, a little bit of soldering, and, well, avoiding any possible warranty that you might have over the tool heads and things like that on the machine. They do solve the problem. I'm hoping that we can get updates to the XL toolhead design to get better cooling, because I do think that's one thing this machine is heavily missing to really round out to being a phenomenal machine overall and a workhorse here in our shop, and one that you can often hear in the background of live streams and videos like that if we don't happen to turn on our noise suppression. And hey, if you're a big fan of not turning on noise suppression like the names listed right next to me, you can join our Discord server at the $10 tier and higher. Links, of course, are in that description down below. If you want to get more uncensored, unedited episodes, you want to see behind the scenes things, you want to get news before it goes public, and you want to have special hangouts where we hang out live in channels in our Discord. You can come talk to us, hang out with the rest of the fans and the crew. The talks get a little bit crazy. That is all we have for you all today. Don't forget to leave a like and get subscribed. Stay safe out there. Don't forget to call your loved ones. And as always, keep making awesome. Have a good one. This is not in zero gravity. This is not in a zero atmosphere environment. So unfortunately, mouse farts don't get the job done.